Let's face it, the Democrat Party is essentially a criminal organization. Whenever the Democrats are in charge, it is marked by massive corruption and abuse of power. And while Joe Biden is competing for the title, right now, as it stands, the most corrupt politician to have ever served in office is former President Obama. Yes, Obama, who weaponized government against its political opponents and against the citizens of the United States. And we all know the most famous case of that, which was the FBI targeting President Trump, spying on his administration, and then working to subvert his presidency. They used nothing more than DNC paid operatives and what they were claiming in order to justify their spying operation. They fabricated and even altered documents in order to lie to the FISA courts in order to get a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign and the Trump presidency. And then, of course, after Trump had his suspicions and fired James Comey for his corruption, then we got the Mueller probe. The Mueller probe, which was nothing more than an attempt to subvert the Trump administration with false accusations. And, of course, we got the Mueller report, which has been completely debunked. But it did not start with them targeting President Trump. Oh, no. It started beforehand under the Obama administration with targeting and weaponizing government against citizens. And then it escalated to political opponents. And see, that's the thing. When government corruption takes place, the more they get away with, the deeper the level of corruption goes. And so an article has come out here talking about just how massively corrupt the FBI has become. And make no mistake, the FBI has lost all credibility. They are no longer a law enforcement agency of the government. They are a tool of the DNC in order to weaponize and target people. They will target citizens with entrapment plans. And then, of course, they'll try and blame Republicans. See, they'll come up with these schemes, they'll recruit people, then they'll arrest them, say, hey, we caught on to this scheme, and then arrest them and then try to blame it on Republicans. Right-wing extremists, they say. That is only one of the information that has come out. But there is more to it than even that. So from the article, from Reason, the FBI destroyed this man's life with bogus spying accusations. For the last year, many Americans have believed that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer was targeted for kidnapping last fall by a group of domestic terrorists. New reporting, however, reveals that the scheme was partially orchestrated by the FBI. As the revelations ripped through social media this week, many people balked at the idea that federal law enforcement would do such a thing. But the FBI is no stranger to fomenting a conspiracy in order to bust it. Considering that of Dr., and I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce the name right, An-Ming Hu, whose life was upended when FBI agents levied bogus spying charges against the now former professor at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. FBI agents conceded under oath that those accusations were bogus. Nevertheless, in February 2020, Hu was arrested and charged with fraud at trial last month when asked by Hu's attorney, Phil, Lomonico, if the agency even knew the last time Hu traveled to China. FBI agents Kutjim Sadiku responded that he wasn't sure, though he had been withholding Hu's passport. Hu testified that Sadiku pressured him over the course of their year-long investigation to attend a conference in China so that the FBI could protect him. It would soon become clear that was not their goal. The witch hunt was part of the U.S. Justice Department's China Initiative, conceived in 2018, to target economic spies acting on behalf of the Chinese government. The agency zeroed in on Hu because in 2012, he received a contract to teach part-time at the Beijing University of Technology, something he disclosed on his forms with UTK. which hired him in 2013. Sudoku found news of that contract along with a Chinese speaking engagement via a Google search in March 2018, which is the sole evidence he used to conclude that Hu was a spy via China's Thousands Talent Plan. The program zeroes in on gifted Chinese citizens who ventured abroad in attempts to attract them back to their homeland. The FBI maintains it's an espionage tool. Now, this is just a recent example of the corruption of the FBI, things that are just extensions of what started under Obama. Under Obama, where they went off and, like I said, they targeted President Trump and his campaign, all based off of making false allegations. But you can go back and find leaks over the years to find out how long that this has been going on. It traces all the way back to the Obama administration. And as they have been going through, it keeps escalating, where the FBI is knowingly making false accusations in order to try and pressure people, knowingly making false accusations to target people, destroy their lives, and try to pressure them into working as informants for the FBI, or using knowingly false information to target political opponents like President Trump. And now we see how with Gretchen Whitmer, the FBI, what they did is that they're the ones that concocted the kidnapping plan. They're the ones that went off and recruited people for that plan. And then they busted it and they arrested the people that they recruited for the plan that they hatched. And then, of course, went off to blame it on right-wing extremists. And what effect do you think that had politically? What effect do you think that had in mainstream media reporting? Of course, it was designed to hurt Republicans. The FBI is not just investigating crimes, they are manufacturing the crimes for them to bust in order to create a political narrative to influence the voters and to influence the outcome of elections. We see that how much they are targeting. Take a look at even now that Trump is out of office. I bet you if you were to look at the FBI, they have now reopened another investigation. I'm sure that's going to leak at some point in time. Once again, reopening Christopher Steele's dossier, despite it all being completely debunked. We see that attorney generals or district attorneys in Democrat areas, especially in New York, are now using false accusations in order to try and justify investigating Trump. And they're going to investigate him endlessly until they actually find a crime. See, investigations are supposed to be, there's a crime that took place, and now you're trying to find the people involved. What the Democrats are doing is they're investigating people and trying to find a crime to charge them with, even though they have no evidence of a crime at this particular point in time. And we see the weak charges that they come up with, where they have to stretch the law, stretch the definition of things in order to try and make it seem as a crime. Like, he didn't pay taxes on a parking spot. Well, how many people pay taxes on a parking spot? Oh, well, we never required that before, but we're going to require it now as a company benefit, and it's taxable. How many of us have actually heard of any such thing? Probably not at all. Meanwhile, they're also targeting Trump's inner circle, trying to say that they had violated FARA, the Foreign Registration Act, acting on behalf of a foreign government. And so they're going off and they're really stretching the definition of what it means to be working for a foreign government or lobbying for a foreign government. And they're really stretching that in order to try and indict Trump people. Now, these laws are almost never enforced, and when they are, if the government really didn't like you, it was just a financial penalty. But the Democrats are using this to try and prosecute people related to the Trump circle. Meanwhile, Democrats that are violating these same laws up and down all over the place, to which there is a mountain of evidence, like Hunter Biden. They get a free pass on all of this. There's not even a single investigation. So you got selective enforcement of the law. You got the FBI hatching up conspiracies and recruiting people only for them to arrest and then blame on their political opponents. And then you have them knowingly making false accusations and destroying people's lives, falsely accusing them of being a spy, taking away their passports, putting them on no-fly lists, getting them fired from their jobs in order to try and pressure them to become informants for the FBI, knowing that it was all false, and then using knowingly false information to investigate political opponents to try and sabotage them in the election, or to try and subvert them if they get elected into office. This is the government that the Democrats create, where it's not equality under the law, it's not equal justice. It is the government being weaponized specifically to target conservatives and to cover up for the Democrats and protect the Democrats from prosecution. This is what third world tyrants do. And that's the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, which, by the way, is nothing more than a criminal operation at this particular point in time. And they have turned the government into a weaponized mafia against conservatives as they plan their coup to try and overthrow the Constitution and overthrow democracy. Because, of course, like all tyrants, they don't want you to have a say in your elected leaders. And until they can pull off their coup on the Constitution, which, by the way, they are attacking the Constitution. Now they're saying you need to get rid of it because it's racist, especially the First and Second Amendment. But until they're able to enact that coup, what they are going to do is use government to target you, to shut you up and tell you don't speak out, shut up, roll over, and just let it happen. That's the Democrats.